Good morning, warriors. Hope everybody's doing well. This is Holy Thursday, so I hope everything is going well for you guys, and you guys are in your purpose and your plan, and you guys have a wonderful weekend coming up. Hope you're sticking to your purpose, my friends. Hope things are going well, and you're battling every day to continue to keep the journey going as long as you can to get the benefits that you really want to get. So I thank everybody for all the comments and great questions and comments and donations and likes and all those type of things. I got a bunch of backlog comments and questions I'm going to focus on, so we're going to continue doing that. Please continue to like, comment, subscribe, things like that. We're getting close to 400, which is wonderful, and the first goal that I have is 500, and I'm getting close to that, so we're getting closer, and I really appreciate everything that you guys are doing in helping to make the channel successful, and I appreciate that. The main thing to me is that we're getting information out to you guys that's important. So a good question this time, and if I pronounce this wrong, let me know. And it's LyFe, LyFe. So I appreciate young lady's comments, so thank you so much. And she makes a couple of interesting comments. I think the video that she's referring to is when I talked about that men really wanted feminine women, energy-wise. And so she talked about the fact that I think I had made a comment that women hit the wall at 30, and then she disagreed with that. So she said that she's looking better. I believe that was a comment I'm reading. Maybe I'm wrong, but the comment she's reading that she's looking better at 40 than she did at 20. So there's a lot that I would agree with. I may push back on a couple things here, but Miss Milo Fee, I appreciate, first of all, your feedback and comments. Any kind of comment, whether I agree with it or not, is not important. The most important thing is that you are giving feedback and giving a viewpoint, and I really appreciate that part of it. So I think you disagree with the fact that I had said that women hit the wall at 30. Now, what I'm talking about here, now, let's look at age first, and I can talk about age because I'm 60 years old, so I can talk about age. So age is something that I think happens. We go back to the discussion we had yesterday with the oil and the car and the cells. Back to Shubham's great perspectives he was giving us as well, and talking really about the idea, and the same thing with Harold and the banking analogy as well. As you get older, okay, obviously your testosterone, this is for men now, you're going to decrease in testosterone, but that's if you're basically having a life in which you're losing your energy all the time. Part of the issue that people have is that it really comes back down to a lifestyle. If people really believe that they don't have to have sex, if people really believe that unless they're going to procreate, sex is not the greatest thing in the world, then you're going to be fine all your life. And this is why to me, a lot of people, especially with the Fountain of Youth and the monks and the people in the old Tibet tribes, they lived over 100 years old. And you have people living 115, 120 years old because they're keeping their energy, their nutrients, as long as they can. Now, you're going to have loss, and we talked about this, whether it's emotional, energy, stress, or physical. You're going to have some of that. But the bottom line is you're not just throwing a lot of your energy away. So, my LyFe, when I'm talking about this idea of hitting the wall, what I see, and this is both applying to men and women, but what I see is a lot of, I don't know if I want to call it, I call a lot of crazy behaviors, I'll say that much, when it comes to this idea of sex, when you're in your 20s. And I saw it a lot. Now, I was very old-fashioned, so I really didn't kind of go into that realm because I was concerned about disease. I was concerned back in those days even about, getting people pregnant, all that kind of stuff. So I didn't really do a lot. I didn't do much of that at all. And so the thing is that I tended to kind of see what was happening. Even back then, I'm talking about the 80s now. You had people who really just had no limits. And so what happened was that they would fool around in their 20s, and by the time they got to the 30s, because they had lost so much energy, right, they started looking older and older. And I think when I'm talking about this, I'm really kind of talking about how people die from within, lack of the soul. And if you're, I talk about body count and everything is the word that the younger people are using. If you have body counts of 100 more, 200, 300, men or women during this period of time, you're really focusing on losing your soul. How can you ever have a trustful relationship if you've been kind of having, sex with 300 people, even in a 10-year span? And this is what I'm talking about. So I'm talking really more about the inside. Now, what happens, in my opinion at least, with the energy is almost like the car again, right? If you're not taking care of the car, if you're not taking care of the oil, if you're not taking care of the other parts, the parts of the car fall apart. If you don't replace the car parts, right? If you don't replace the, the headlight goes and you don't ever replace it, it's just bad, right? It's just going to continue to worse and worse unless you fix the problem you have. And so the thing is the same thing with you, the same thing with your body. And so when it's happening as time goes on, if you're not fixing your inside, your energy level, your spiritual growth, your intellectual, your physical types of things, then your body, just like the car, is going to fall apart. And this is what I'm talking about. As people get older, you can see the true person inside of them. I believe the true person comes out from the inside out. I always say it's kind of an inside job. When people are focusing on outside things and how they look and all that, everything looks good when they're in the 20s. But once they start hitting 30 and 35, 40, now all of a sudden it's a different story. You have younger people in their 20s and they're looking better, and they're going out doing the crazy dating and sleeping around, all that kind of stuff that the young people do. And all of a sudden now you're sitting there at 30 and now you're in a different situation. I call that the wall, because all of a sudden you don't have the same level of interest in things that the people in the 20s do. And that just is common sense type of thing. But it doesn't necessarily mean you don't look as beautiful. So my LyFe, I would agree with you. I've seen women who look better in their 40s than they did in their 20s. But that's because it's coming from the inside out. And that means that that person has an inner person, inner spiritual growth, inner person that as time goes on, that is more demonstrated, that's more shown, right? The confidence on the face is more shown. While people the opposite way look older. And you see this a lot. That people who are angry and they're mad or they're bitter or they have resentment, all these evil types of things that the evil one puts into us. Those type of things make people look older. And I've seen people in their 40s who look like they're in their 70s or 80s. And contrastly, I've seen, as you say, My LyFe, I've seen people back in their 40s and 50s who look like they're in their 20s, 30s, right? I remember Pat Boone. I don't know how old he is now, but he looked really young. Dick Clark was another person who looked very young. And a lot of these people, if you probably examine their life, you can see that their inside, maybe they didn't have the same kind of looks when they're younger. And I know I didn't. When I was younger, if you look at pictures of me, as a teenager, I was kind of geeky looking, right? And while I was playing football, I still wasn't the best looking guy in the world. Far from that. And now I'm not that much better, but still, I've gotten a little better over the years, right? And so I feel better. Because you feel better and you have all these benefits, you start looking better. I think Shubham mentioned it. Again, another good insight. He talks about the glow you have, your hair, your body, all of that. You look better. And this is because you're basically kind of trying to refocus all the energy you have onto something else. And so, but if you lost all this energy, doesn't mean you can't start repairing it. But here's two things to consider. So, one of the things to consider is the habit you've gotten into. If you're a person who has slept around all through your 20s, multiple people, it's very difficult to get out of the habit. It took me 45 years to get out of my habit of fapping, all that kind of stuff. It took me 45 years. So when you build a habit, especially of the pleasurable habit of the sleeping around, you're basically going to have a hard time breaking that habit. And so it's going to be hard to trust people. It's going to be hard to have one person. And those type of habits form when you're younger. Not impossible, but very difficult. Because what you're doing is forming a habit that you obviously enjoy, and now you're caught into. So as a result of that, you start losing all kinds of your energy on a daily basis, and now you start getting older faster. I mean, there's only so much that you can produce. And the body goes overboard because they're in panic that you're losing all this energy. And so they're in survival mode, and so you start looking like you're 50, 60, 70 years old as you get older, and you're only in your 20s. You have all these problems like dysfunction, all kinds of stuff like that, which I see a lot of in their 20s, which is unbelievable to me. But what's happening is that they're losing so much energy, is that you're basically not, it's almost like you're becoming half a person. So I think, My LyFe, when you talk about this, I agree. If you do the right types of things and you're in the right kind of programs, you can look much better later on. And especially those people who are beautiful inside. The beautiness comes out. And a lot of that beautiness to me is keeping your energy. It's hard for me to believe a person who is doing these type of things all the time and losing energy, that they really, on a large basis, is going to really be beautiful inside. I know, because I wasn't. I know, I wasn't. I was not that beautiful when I was doing this, because I was so concentrated on other types of things that I basically didn't really kind of focus on other people and all kinds of other things going on. And I think once you do that, your beauty from the inside comes out. And so that's, I think, one of the key things to kind of remember. The other thing as you're doing this is to recall as well, as you're focusing on your energy, you got to remember too that this is a process, a lifestyle change. And as you're building your lifestyle change, you're becoming more comfortable. You're going to have a lot of trouble at the beginning changing from one lifestyle to another. But once you do that, all of a sudden you start feeling better about yourself. And as you start feeling about yourself, now your confidence grows, the benefits grow, all the other things grow, because you know you're becoming closer to the Lord. I believe people who do long, and I see this now in monk mode, I think I'm over 200 days, 204 or something like that, and I think I'm at 679 or something like that, almost 680 in my NoFap. I think that I have seen so many benefits, and I feel like I'm closer to the Lord every day. And I think that's the whole key in trying to do what I've intended to do. I wanted to be closer to the Lord. I didn't feel I was, and I felt like this was what holding me back. And I think this is the case. And so as time goes on, I have very rarely seen if someone is doing this. Now, I do it in monk mode because I think that's the best benefit. But even if you're just doing NoFap and you're starting that way, you're going to look a lot more attractive and a lot more beautiful, and you're going to feel beautiful. So if you're talking about the best cosmetic type of thing for men and women, to me, going on this journey of retention is the best thing you can ever do. I mean, a lot of people fool around with makeup and all kinds of stuff to hide things, but they don't realize that how your skin looks, all these things, your energy comes the fact that you need to keep those nutrients. See, guys, I think this is the key to the whole thing. You have to kind of think to yourself, okay, is this correct? Is this correct? Is the fact that when you lose energy, you're losing your nutrients? That's the question you have to kind of really get to scientifically. And I think this is what Shubham and other people, Harold, everybody's been talking about when they give analogies and things like that. The bottom line really is that if you have the power, and this is where the analogy is, if you have the power to create a child with somebody because of the sperm that you have, that means there's things within that sperm that can actually help create a child. Now, what does that tell you? That tells you this is a very powerful thing that you have. And if you break it down more, the power that you have is focused on the nutrients, the vitamins, the things that are inside that sperm. Or else, how can the heck can you create a child if you didn't have that, right? So, the key is then to realize, if you realize that, you also then have to deduct that if you're losing this all the time, that is taking nutrients from you without actually helping you. Now, if you're having a child, that's different, and we've talked about that many times. But the idea here is the fact that if you're not having a child and you're just doing it, and people are doing, some people doing this 3, 4, 5 times a day, this type of stuff can destroy you. And I know, I've been there. And the bottom line really then is what then happens, what you're doing is just throwing a bunch of your energy away. And if you keep your energy, now all of a sudden you start to enhance the way you look, because now you're keeping the nutrients of a chance to work within your system. And that energy now can be used and transmuted and motivate you to do other types of great things in this world, instead of just kind of sitting there and just wasting away, which is what people really do when they do this stuff. They're really kind of wasting themselves away. Now, they don't realize this because the evil one has tricked them, as it did for me for many years, into the fact of understanding that, okay, this is great for you. You actually are better off from doing this. Don't worry about all the energy you're losing, because it means nothing. You can always get back that energy later on. And so it's a point where it's not really a big deal. Well, that's the biggest lie in the world. It is a big deal. And I think this has always been something in society where the way to control the men and women in society is have them focus on sex all the time, so they don't focus on anything else. You almost become like a drug. It's like a drug. And this is why it's very hard to break after all these years. And I think you have to realize how powerful and dangerous this is in order to stop it. And like I said, having kids, that's one thing. But to do it just for the pleasure of it over and over and over again, now all of a sudden, now you're getting an addictive rage. And that's a big issue. So I hope I helped answer this. My LyFe, thanks again for your contributions. It's always welcome. I know that even if you agree or disagree, it's more important for me to get feedback and have you participate, and I appreciate that a great deal. And once again, I hope I gave you at least my viewpoint on this. And so you guys, the rest of you guys, have a great day today. Today is April 14th, 2022. I hope that you guys have a wonderful day. I will try to do one tomorrow for Good Friday, and I'll probably hold off. Maybe I'll do one over the weekend on Saturday. We'll see. But we'll kind of keep going. I know I have a bunch of questions still. I have a good question on action, reaction, and dopamine, and a few other ones, anxiety and things like that. So I'll get to those as I go along. All right, guys. God bless you guys. Have a great day, and battle on.